So maybe we have to thank Joel Klatt. He's been among the most vocal voices speaking on this particular matter. But according to Ross Dellinger, AFCA head coaches are proposing to move the transfer portal to a 10-day window in early January after bowl games, with spring window eliminated except for graduate transfers. That is the tweet that I saw, and I was so happy. Now, I'll be happier when this actually comes to fruition. But for the betterment of the sport, this needs to take place. There is no inherent logic or justification for having the transfer portal window while the season is still ongoing. It is absolute lunacy. Now, I am a college football traditionalist, so generally the phrase, "other leagues don't do it like this," doesn't resonate with me. In this instance, it does, because there is a reason you do not have free agency in the middle of your season. You have trades in the professional game. That's different than free agency. That's an organization making a conscious decision to make a move for a player or get rid of a player that they feel is going to better their locker room. But the object of moving the transfer portal window is not to take away the player's ability to move. And you can have a discussion. I frankly don't really know where I come down on whether there should be a limited amount of one-time freebie transfers. I get the argument for you should only be able to move and be instantly eligible once or as a graduate transfer. So in your undergraduate career, you get one free transfer. And then after that, you got to be a grad transfer. You have to sit out for a year. I get that. It has absolutely, as I understand it, and I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think there's any legal weight behind that idea. So you can say you want that all you want. I don't think that's going to arrive. But this is legitimate, honest discussion about moving the transfer portal window. It's so insane. 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. Texas last year with Malik Murphy, and Penn State this year with Bo Prabula. You have had legitimate national title contending teams who end up making it to the Final Four that are playing those games without the guy who has been their primary backup quarterback the entire season. It's insane. It's insane. Just at that position. But you lose guys from other spots as well who could have seen the field. And sure, that puts the onus on the coaching staff to have the proper recruiting depth and ability to overcome a small handful of departures that might leave your program. But I think it makes bowl season significantly worse. It gives some opportunities to guys, but it also takes away from the game. You tune into these bowl games, which I love, by the way. I never want bowl season to go anywhere. It's wildly entertaining every single year. But I hate that one of the biggest storylines during bowl season is, well, these guys aren't playing or these guys have transferred. Like, that stinks. But the transfer departure, it doesn't make any sense. So waiting until after the season, I think, is highly logical. Now, the spring transfer portal window being eliminated, and again, Klatt has lobbied hard for this for a very long time, and rightfully so, because he understands what I think a lot of us understand. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for players. It's not good for coaches. It's not good for fans, and doesn't benefit network executives somewhere, somehow. That's just not a thing. So nobody is actually aided. You have James Franklin out there with a wholehearted defense of Bo Prabula saying he didn't want to leave, but he has to leave. Every single one of those comments and remarks is clearly starting to come to a head, and I think that's great. I think that is great. Now, the elimination of the spring transfer portal window. That one is really tricky to me. And I imagine it'll be tricky for the courts as well if a player decides that that's a violation of his right to freedom of association and whatnot. Because what the spring transfer portal window usually entails, and there's still going to be one this year, what it generally entails is guys go through spring practice, see where they are on the depth chart, and realize this is not what I thought. This is not what I expected. I'm going elsewhere. Or in some instances, you have kids that committed to a certain coach and then then the coach decides to leave at the last minute, and all of a sudden you're going, I think I need to go elsewhere. Now, when a coach leaves, you have a 30-day window automatically to enter the transfer portal. So that's perhaps still accounted for, but I would be curious to hear a coach's thoughts on what the major downside is of the spring portal window, because I fully understand what you've got with, or the issues with the current transfer portal window that's during bowl season and before the postseason begins in earnest. Like, that's obviously problematic. And by the way, I think you should move the transfer portal window to after the season. I think you should move National Signing Day to after the season. Take it out of December. Get it out of there. Put it back to make the February National Signing Day the biggest moment of the college football early offseason to set the stage for spring football. I think you should have the season. You can start bowls maybe a little bit sooner, but I think that can be tightened up. That's not perhaps a pressing need per se, unless you're one of the teams that had a bye in the playoff, in which case you think it should definitely start sooner, but that's an entirely different conversation. But have the season, have bowl season, have the playoff. Then once the season is over, open the transfer portal and say, here's a 10 to 15 day window you can enter. Then you have National Signing Day. That keeps fans' attention, by the way, which is something other leagues do a much better job of thinking about than college football does. Then you get to spring practice. Then you should release the schedules if you're really thinking like a media savant. And after spring practice, I'm okay having a spring transfer portal window. Coaches will be frustrated because they set their depth charts and then they're having to adjust and do roster management and adjustment once again. I get that might not be the most fun thing in the world. I think that's a good opportunity for players that aren't going to see the field. And if you're the coaching staff, think about it like this. If you have a kid that would want to enter the spring transfer portal window, but he's forced to stay on the team all fall, you're just going to have a disgruntled player in the locker room who doesn't like where he falls there. And you can have your own thoughts on what that should mean for kids and learning and going through tough situations and battling out and all that sort of stuff. That's good and fine. But that's a tough one. That's a tough, the spring transfer portal window, I don't know. But fundamentally, the winter transfer portal window, phenomenal idea. This has not been implemented yet, by the way. I am really hoping this comes to fruition, and you know what? I am just doing what little I can to try to make college football a better place. However big that impact is, I'm trying because I love this sport very, very much. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time, and until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.